Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. We now have the next 4 stages of build kit from Knight Rider. So as you can see, I've pulled some bits over onto the workbench. We have the main shell, the front part of the shell and the bonnet. They're the only bits we're only going to be working on. I have also pulled over the headlight cable because we've also got the headlights to start on. Now, we didn't get a lot of parts, so I'm hoping this is probably going to be a very short video with not very much to do. Famous last words, we'll find out in a moment. So with all that said, let's get building. Okay, so we're kicking off with issue 75. Now, obviously we didn't get this in issue 75, we got all this way back in issue 1. If you can remember that, you have to dig that one out. So we put the single hinge on it when we first started this in issue 1. Also, we didn't build up the second hinge, which I thought at the time was a bit weird. That they didn't just give us those couple of bits just to mirror that. However, we do have the second hinge now, and we also have other bits for the very first hinge. So we've got the left-hand side there, we've got the right-hand side there. We're going to start on the right-hand side, and we're going to get this piece here, which is 75C, and we're just going to be building up the same thing we did before. So that's going to go on there like so. Now, I realise this is black on black, but hopefully with it being a little bit matte-like, you can actually see what I'm doing. So we're going to put DM screws in there. And as you can see, we do have quite a lot of M screws. So I've got my little pot of oil standing by, and that's just going to help with all the metal screws that we've got to go in. And again, I am just going gentle with these because we don't want the screws to snap. And if you find they start binding a little bit, just back it out and go again. Right, so we're next going to be putting on these two pieces. We've got part A, part B, and as we did on the left hand side, we're now going to be doing the same thing on the right hand side. So we've got part B, which is going to go into this hole just here, and that's going to be secured by a CM screw. And then we've got part B, so part A, and that's going to go in here just like that, with the beveled edge on this one facing up towards the bonnet, and that's also going to be secured by a CM screw. So that's in there, and then this one again with a CM screw just going into this point here. So that's looking just like that, and you can see the detail is on this side because the other side is just flat. And I've tightened them enough so that they are movable, but they do hold their position, so hopefully that will mean that if you ever lift the bonnet of KITT, it should hopefully hold itself up. I don't know if there is any bonnet stay or anything like that when it comes to actually finishing the model. We now have one of the pistons, again still working on the right hand side, and this piston is going to go just onto that mount there, and it's also going to use an OP screw. So one of the very few plastic screws we've got in this batch, we've only got the OP screws. So that's going to go through the mount and then into the plastic cylinder piston. So you might just need to lift that out of the way to get that screw in there. That's looking just like so. We're then going to get this piece. They are labelled L and R, as you can just about see, hopefully. So it's the right side we're still working on. And we're going to get one of these pieces. And that's just going to mount on to this piece just here. That's going to mount just in like so. And we're going to be using a CM screw for that one. So it's going to go through this part first and then into that section there. Just like so. Again, just making sure that it's tight enough that it's not just flapping about, but not so tight that it doesn't move. There we go. We're now going to take this piece and we're going to slide it into that cylinder. And we're going to do it so the cylinder is towards the front of the bonnet, and that's going to slide in to the other part of the piston. That is quite a tight fit. Now, that might be by design, so that might be part of the mechanism to hold the cylinder up. But I don't know if you can tell, that's such a tight fit that's actually marked the outside of that cylinder. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try dipping that in a little bit of oil. There we go. So that moves a lot nicer, but it has damaged that part. Not too worried, because very rare that the bonnet of this is going to ever be opened. But that is certainly an interesting point there. We do now need to attach this to the little struts here. So we've got one on the back just here, and then one on the front just there. And all they do is just line up, and then more CM screws will hold that in place. And the CM screws are coming from this direction into the part we just added. And one just here. So that is just like that, and obviously that's the opening and closing mechanism of the bonnet. We're going to flip back to the left side, and we're going to be basically doing the exact same thing with the cylinder and these parts here. So interesting enough, we secured that first one with an OP screw. This one, we're securing it slightly differently with an SM screw. So this one is going into this point here, and we're securing it from the inside with an SM screw. So that's going just like that. I'm not sure why that is different, but it seems a bit strange that you have secured it one way that way and the other way that way. Right. So we're getting back to this piece, and as before, we're going to use a CM screw on that one and secure that in place there. So just popping it through that part and then securing it in there, like so. Now, what I'm going to do with this one, because I know what it was like on that one, I'm just going to use a little bit of wet and dry and just take off the very last little bit of paint on there, just like that. Now, you're never going to see that bit, but I think it will make a better job when it comes to putting it into the cylinder. And again, I'm just going to pop that into a bit of oil as well. And we're going to be placing that, as we did before, into that cylinder. Again, that's still a very tight fit, like so. And then we're going to be doing the same thing with CM screws and securing that just like so. So that one is now looking just like that, and just double check that they both close absolutely perfectly, and they do. It is interesting that this one we've used that SM screw, and this one we used that OP screw. I'm not quite sure the reasoning for that. But anyway, that's all there is to do in stage 75. We've got these two bits that we're going to use in the next part, but this bonnet we can now safely store away again. Right, so this is all we get with issue 76, and we have the windscreen and the wipers. And we did get some various screws as well, the GM screws, some AM screws and some BP screws. But that's the windscreen looking just like that. And then we've got the wipers, which are actually in two parts. So we've got the arm itself and the blade. So just put those to one side for a moment. And we'll bring over the main shell. So the first thing it's telling us to do is remove the bars. Now, if like me, that you've been storing it on top of KITT, so you save space, you've probably already removed those bars. So that was the first step. Second step is to put the windscreen in. Right, the way it's going to go in is with these two tabs going underneath here, and we've got these two little lips here, and that's just going to slide under like so, and then sit. These little other tabs are going to sit in the grooves just there, like so. Now we're going to flip that over and secure that in place with some BP screws. Obviously, just watch out for your doors when flipping the car over. And again, Partwork Upgrades mat, absolutely invaluable. So we've got 3 points here where we're going to be putting in the BP screws. You might need to switch to a PH1 driver bit for this. And that is the windscreen in just like that. Obviously just double check that it is fully seated all round, and as you can see it's all absolutely perfect in there. You might want to tape your doors up when moving this thing around. And if you haven't seen the video, I've got the Mike Lane carpets in there looking absolutely brilliant, so please do check out that little mod. We're now just going to move that main frame to one side, but not too far away. We're going to bring up the front part of the frame, and these two parts we got in the last issue, we're going to be securing those to the car. Now, we had some LM screws in the last issue, we're going to be needing those now. Now, again, these are marked left and right, as you can see there. And we're just going to be placing these onto the car. Obviously, left, right, as the car's going forward. So, left-hand side, we've got just going in there. Now, it does have this little peg, and we've got a hole and two other holes there for the screws. So that's just going to push in there. It's a bit of a tight fit, so it might need a bit of a wiggle. Going to do the same on this side. Just like that. Just ensure that the holes there do line up with the holes in the main chassis. And then we're going to use, as I say, a couple of LM screws just to secure that in place. Again, in the oil. Just like so. We're now going to bring over the frame again, and we're going to be marrying these two bits together. Now, I've obviously been playing with this and putting this together. Now, it does seem to be a very, very tight fit for me. I don't know if that's normal, but it does fit and seems to hold itself in place. So if you find that it's not quite going in place for you, you might just find that it's these two parts here catching on these two parts here, and it just needs a slight tweak and a slight bend just to try and get it in place. Obviously, we want to make sure these cables are out of the way and don't get trapped. So the easiest way I've found doing this, if you sort of fold it in. Now, when I've done this before, it didn't have the windshield in, and it was much easier. Right, so Alright, so what we're looking for is just these two holes to line up with the holes in the main frame, and we're going to put a couple of GM screws in there just to hold that in place. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put one in this side and then one in the other side. I'm just going to use the lower hole for the minute. One there. And one just in there. So those, as you can see, are just in there. Now I need to flip it upside down. Here we have two more GM screws to go in just here and here. That's one. Now we've got these two little clips with issue 74, so we're going to need those now as well. What we're going to be doing is basically training this cable along here. We're going to leave that one just out there. We've got two holes just here and here, as you can see, and these are just going to go in like that and hold that cable in place. And we're going to secure those with two AM screws. So that cable is now running across there with those two clips holding it in place. Flip the card back over and we're going to do the wipers. So we've got to assemble the wipers first. And I'm just checking if these are the same or different. Now they are different. However, the blades look to be the same. So it shouldn't matter which blade goes on which side. So that's just going to go on there like so, and on there like that. And then these are going to go into the car. Now we've got one with this little bent leg and one with a very straight leg. And it's the one with the bent leg that goes on this side, and the straight leg one goes on this side. And hopefully they fit better than the DeLorean wipers did. And they do have a keyhole pattern, so they do only fit in one direction. So it's like a D shape hole. So just got to make sure that is lined up absolutely perfectly, and they are sitting in there brilliantly. KITT now has his wipers, and that's all there is to do in that stage. So I'm going to place that to one side, but not too far, because we all need that again. So we've got issue 77, and I have realised that I haven't really been showing you through the magazines on the other two issues, but this is what we have this time. And as you can see, we're working on the headlight. And as I said, we do need the cable, which is labelled M, which is the headlight cable. I'm just trying to work out, because one of these leads is longer than the other, and it looks like we need the shorter lead to start off with. And that is going to go into the back of the headlight housing. Just like so. And see, just make sure that is pushed all the way in. It is a nice tight fit, so that's going to not fall out at all, which is brilliant. And they want us to route the cable up around like this and back out like so. I'm going to flip that over. Headlight cable coming out this way. Now we have got a little lens. Now on this, now the camera is probably not going to pick it up at all, but you might just be able to make out the word halogen on there. Now the instructions do tell you, make sure that it is the correct way up. Now the word halogen is going to be this way up. So this is the top, this is the bottom. So the cable is coming out the back of the headlight that way around. And that's how that is going to sit just in there. And that's just a push in fit, like so. So just to reiterate, the halogen wording is the correct way up, like that, with the cable coming out this way. Now I'm going to be placing it into this bit. Now, unfortunately, this is actually plastic. I really expected this to have been metal, because obviously that's going to sit right against the bonnet. So obviously working on the left-hand side, so that's going to sit just there. And yeah, I'm slightly disappointed that it's not metal, the same as the bonnet. But it should still be fairly good. So with the mount that way round, headlight this way round, with the cable coming out this way, it's going to slot in here. And we're going to use 2 OP screws to put those in place. Now you might find you need to push the LED in a little bit further if it will go, just to make sure that it does seat in there correctly. There we go. So as you can see, headlight LED pushed all the way in, and that peg is now in place, and the screw holes are now free for the OP screws. Just changing back to my pH0 bit. So that's in there just like so. Now we're going to get this bracket, and you can see there's a hole in the ends just like that, and they are going to go in underneath this cable in that orientation just like so, and we're going to be securing those with 2 TM screws. These are new screws, we haven't had any TM screws before. Now we don't want these too tight because we want it so that the headlight can move and rotate. And we're flipping it upside down again, and we're going to be placing the headlight in here. Now this has little notches on the ends, and that's going to line up with the holes on here, just like that. And then we've got 2 AM screws to hold that in place. So we've got 4 holes there in total, and it's the outer screw holes that the AM screws go into. Just going to switch to my pH1 bit again. So that's the 2 AM screws in there. And then we've got this bracket, and you can see there's a little channel here for the cable, and we're just going to train that cable to go through that channel in like a little L shape pattern. And then we're going to secure that with this bracket, and 2 LM screws will secure that in place. So now all we need to do is flip that back over and just double check that the headlight works as it should, which it does. It's looking brilliant. Now if you haven't seen it, I have made a little mod so that when the fog lights are on, you can have it so these headlights do not pop up and do not come on. So check out my video on that one. We have now just got the other headlight to work on. So final issue for this build pack. And as you can see, we're just working on the right hand headlight now. Very much the same way as we've just done. Now, obviously, a little bit more difficult because the first thing they ask you to do is put the headlight in. Now, we've obviously got that now attached to KITT. So, probably easiest to do it in this fashion. So you've got the nice long cable out, and we've got KITT sat to one side like that. So I'm going to start off the same way. I'm going to push this all the way in. Now I thought I'd push the first one in all the way. Clearly I hadn't, so you do need to make sure it is in all of the way so that it can go into that bracket in a moment. And again, we need to route the cable as we did before. Now this one goes to the side and round and out like so. And then with that cable out this way, we are again ensuring that the halogen wording is the correct way up. So cable again towards the bottom, and the word halogen is legible in this direction, and that just pushes in again, looking just like that. And then we've also got the housing for it. Again, it's plastic, and we're going to push that in place like that, and we've got the OP screws again to secure that in place. One in there and one in there. And as before, we've got this bracket going in that way around, and then we've got the TM screws to secure that in place. Again, not tightening them so that the headlight can rotate. So as you can see, that's absolutely perfect. Now obviously it doesn't really matter that they're flopping about at the moment, because the motor and the mechanism will hold these up or down depending on which way you want them. So now we bring KITT over, and as before we're going to place that in there, lining up those pegs. 2 AM screws on the outsides, the cable clip in, and then the LM screws. So we'll start off with the AM screws. One in there. And one in there. And then, as before, we're going to make sure that cable is run through there, and we're finishing off with 2 LM screws to secure that bracket in place. And the last one just in there. Oops. Like so. So I flip that back over, and just again ensure that both headlights do pop up, go back down, and that is absolutely perfect. So while I've got it like that, I will just grab the bonnet, and we'll just place that just on there, and that is what KITT is looking like with the bonnet in place. Looking pretty good now. And that is all there is to do in this issue of KITT, and that is all there is to do in this build pack. So that is looking fantastic. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to give it a big thumbs up. So that's now kit done for another month. It's looking absolutely fantastic. I've had to light it up. Why wouldn't you? So we now are really on the home stretch for kit, and most of what we're doing in the next few issues is going to be all around the bodywork and the body panels. All the interior is done, all the engine's done, the rolling chassis is complete. So it's now really going to take shape over the next few months. Now, if you want to help support the channel, please do check out my merch store. As I said, there's a brand new t-shirt in there, so please go check that out, and maybe you'll get yourself your own modelling shirt. Until the next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.